Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. It is NFL week 1 of the regular season. The fantasy drafts have been drafted. The sports books have been loaded. The money has been fired off. It is the moment we've been waiting for. We are so excited to be back. It is one of our favorite times. It is our favorite times of the year. It is like Christmas to us. College football week 1 was last week. NFL week 1 is this week. And of course, we are blessed with the gift of Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson on Thursday night. For those of you who don't know us, we are Statletics. We're just a couple guys who love talking ball. Super casual show. We kind of lean heavily into the analytics. Me specifically, Brendan here, my co-host. He's the guy that keeps me honest about don't overthink things. So, but yeah, we are very diversified here. We just love talking ball. It's super casual. So what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through some of the biggest games on the week 1 slate. And then we're going to do some rapid fire picks. We're going to throw out some teams who we think is going to be on upset alert into week 1. And then, of course, talk about a little bit of the model picks in terms of best bets. So exciting stuff, dude. We're back. Can you believe it, Beach? Can you believe we're finally back?
I can't. It feels like just yesterday was April. But, I'm fired up as we were talking about before we got on today. And I just can't wait to be more of a degenerate than I already am. So
it's going to be insane. I'm like a kid on Christmas every single year that this comes around. Like, I think it beats the previous year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is the most excited I've been for football season. But I think it just continues. I get more and more excited every single year.
Well, it's probably because Tennessee's playoff bound. That's probably why.
True. Why. Yeah. Tennessee looked a little too good. I don't want to jinx it. So before we get into the show, this show is brought to you by Not Beer, sparkling water. Make sure you grab some Not Beer. It's the perfect summer refreshment, and it's perfect for those football tailgates for those of you who enjoy a nice, crisp sparkling water, something with a little bit of bubbles. Make sure to find a link for that in the comments. It's a store locator there. If you also want to ship to your door, you can find the Amazon link as well right there for you. Not Beer, American sparkling water, phenomenal stuff. Beach, let's get right into it. I don't even want to fool around here. What we're going to do is we're going to open up with the big game breakdowns, and nonetheless, we have to start with Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Thursday night home opener. It is at Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs are a 3-point favorite, 2.5, 3-point favorite. The total sitting around 46.5, 47. Absolutely legendary game. First of all, every time these two play, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Two of the best quarterbacks going head-to-head. Two of the best defenses in the league going head-to-head as well. So it may not be the shootout that a lot of casuals may expect, but some great stuff. The projections have this around 20, 21.5 to about 20 for the Ravens, or in favor of the Chiefs. A little closer to a 1-point favorite or a pick even. Based on what the model is saying. Again, don't sleep on the Chiefs defense. It is a great unit. I expect them to continue their success and progress forward from what they had last year. But same with the Ravens, dude. I think the Ravens are probably a top 2 defensive unit and probably not number 2. Just looking at this roster and what they're holding up. But we can talk more a little bit about the players and the personnel and the X's and O's and everything. But what's your gut feel about this game as you head into the season? I mean, projecting week 1 and talking about week 1, it's almost like it's
a clean slate. It's a clean slate.
It is a clean slate. And it's like you feel like while you're trying to pick for this game in particular, you don't want to let your feelings towards how you think the season's going to play out for these two teams. I hope that makes sense because I have really high hopes for the Ravens, but I also got to remember that the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and this is Arrowhead Stadium. So, what's your gut feel about this game, man? Where are you landing?
Couldn't have a better game to start the season, and
insane.
I hate dynasties, man, and I'm just not a big fan of the Chiefs because they just keep winning. It's so boring. But could they win 3 in a row? Could they? I guess we'll find out. Leading into this game, I see Patrick Mahomes having maybe the best receiving core he's had since he's been in the NFL, like minus Tyreek Hill, obviously, with Rashid Rice, whose suspension is going to be delayed. Marquise Brown is a little banged up right now. Xavier Worthy, we'll see what that plays out, and Travis Kelce. And on the Ravens side, I mean, they lost a couple O-linemen in free agency, and Roquan Smith obviously departed from there. And it's not that I think that the Ravens are going to digress, but in this first game, no one can tell me I'm wrong here. In Arrowhead Stadium, Patrick Mahomes, first game of the season, I've got the Chiefs covering here, man. I've got them covering the 2.5.
Okay. I love it. It's almost like we've done this same song and dance one too many times where we like this feels like a spot where you should take the Ravens, because if I'm just like speaking open and honest, I do think the Ravens have a more complete team just from a roster construction perspective. But like,
they don't have Andy
this
Reid.
is kind of,
they don't have Pat Mahomes.
exactly.
It's an Arrowhead.
And here it would be different if maybe the Rashid Rice thing had come down a little bit differently, but they will have Rashid Rice, they will have Xavier Worthy, they will have Travis Kelce, and they will have Isaiah Pacheco. Their offensive line is also a very strong unit as well, led by our boy Trey Smith. And then they have Jawan Taylor, Joe Thuney, and a couple other guys, a couple other meatheads up front. So not only will they have, their weapons in the passing game minus Hollywood Brown, they'll have, every bit of their run game as well. Now my rebuttal is, of course, the Ravens defense, one, but two, I think the Ravens offense is going to be phenomenal this year. They brought in the big dog. He's going to eat King Henry. We saw Zay Flowers come onto the scene, especially in the latter half of the season. They're getting Mark Andrews back fully healthy. We saw the elevation of Isaiah Likely. So I think we're going to see a lot more two tight end sets, which I think is going to really kind of fit the mold of what we think this game is going to be, just to grind it out. So now that I think the Ravens have everybody healthy, everybody ready to go to start this year off, I think this team is, on it to speak frankly, I think they're the most well-built team to beat a team like this Chiefs team. And so one thing that we have to watch for is will the Ravens be able to find success against Patrick Mahomes? And I guess it's more of, will they be able to get pressure? And we've seen Patrick Mahomes is second to none, really, to any quarterback in the league in anything, but especially in getting the ball off under immense amount of pressure. So I fully expect him to do well. I think the Ravens, even though they're the best built team to beat the Chiefs, it's just hard to believe that the Chiefs the Ravens are going to be able to go into Arrowhead to start off the season, shake off a bit of rust, and steal a win from the reigning Super Bowl champions. And so it's funny because my model has this game so close, but I do a two-part system. I have a score projection model, and then I have it's more of a logistical probability model. And the Chiefs have a 60% chance to win at home in this particular game, according to the model. So I also am riding with the Chiefs, but just to throw out some numbers, everybody's on the Ravens. 74% of the tickets are on Ravens spread, and 53% of the money is on Ravens. Pretty big differential right there. It's nearly 20%. So leaning heavily into the Chiefs. Any rebuttals, any remarks there?
No, it's recency bias from the playoffs. I think the Ravens are going to get revenge on them, in my opinion. I think that's why. But I do want to point out, Brendan Thorne from Establish the Run has the Ravens offensive line ranked 28th out of 32. And it's preseason, so we don't know what's going to happen. But, Derrick Henry got hit in the backfield when he was at the Titans, like, more times than not. He didn't make the line of scrimmage before he was hit. So I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's just something to look out for. And I agree with you on everything. My bolder prediction for this game is that the Chiefs have 150 rushing yards. And and I think they get it done on the ground with Pacheco. And do not sleep on Carson Steele. Do not sleep on one of 5 white running backs in the NFL. I don't even know what college he went to. Yep. He's got long golden locks, and he's just a battering ram. And they also have some It's my JP Ryan that just signed. So that's my bolder prediction, but I think Chiefs cover. Chiefs cover the first game of the year. Low scoring game.
See, I'll counter you real quick on that one. Everybody, I think, is going to think this is a low scoring game. Even the model thinks it is. But if there is ever a time to exploit a total like this, you got to think outside the box. I think it's the first game of the season. Now, you could make the argument for both sides. You can make the argument both offenses are going to come out rusty and not score or move the ball at all, especially against two elite defenses like this. But you can also make the argument that the defense is going to be a bit out of shape. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are going to come out firing, and this game actually is going to end up being a barn burner.
I hope so.
Where the defenses are just not going to be in game shape yet to handle. So, hey, could be a smart bet for those of you looking to bet the total. God, I just love that game so much. Feels good. First one done. Guys, if you're watching online on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the video and then comment your picks for NFL Week 1. Let us know who you think is going to win, cover, surprising upsets, who's on upset alert, and, of course, your favorite teams to win this week. We love scanning the crowd for that information. That's always some of the most fun that we have week in and week out, even if it is type 2 fun. So, moving on. Packers technically at the Eagles, but this game's out of town, if I'm not mistaken. Sao Paulo. Okay. So, out of town international game, Packers versus the Eagles. Totals at about 48.5. Eagles are favored by 2.5. The hype has been unreal for the Packers and Jordan Love. The hype has been absolutely absurd, and rightfully so. I think their performance last year, especially against the Cowboys in that playoff game, has warranted them to come in here with some hype. I think that Jordan Love is going to elevate his game. It's going to elevate the Packers, and I think they have a lot to be excited about. But I do not want people to think that the version of the Eagles that they saw last year is going to be the version of the Eagles that they see this year. They brought in Kellen Moore. They're going to stretch the field vertically. Jalen Hurts is going to excel as a passer. Devontae and A.J. Brown are healthy. They brought in Saquon Barkley. I don't think people realize how successful this offense is going to be and how consistent they're going to be week in and week out. It will not be like they did last year. It will be immensely better. The talent that they have, and now with the tactical play calling that Kellen Moore has, a lot of people will, rebuke me on that. But I think Kellen Moore has more been a woe to his circumstances more than anything, being with the Cowboys, who often show malpractice in both, team and administration. But the Chargers as well, that was just poor coaching by Brandon Staley. Just tough situation for them. I really do think the Eagles are going to be phenomenal this year on the offensive side of the ball. A better product than we've seen over the past 2 years, for sure. So, with that being said, Beach, before I get into any of the numbers and what the projections have to say and all of that, what's your gut feeling for this game? International game. You always have interesting takes about the international games. So, let me hear it. Who you got for this game and why?
The international games means there's no home field advantage. That's all I have to say. And I want to just point out that all lines are favored towards whoever is the air quotes home team. Okay. At least in my opinion. I don't know if they adjusted or not, but I think you're right. I think the Eagles are going to be spectacular this year. It's going to be really fun to watch. A lot of points put up. But I mean, who doesn't love a young, dumb quarterback with a forward projecting offense going to Sao Paulo, who's just going to sling the tater all across the field? I mean, I don't think it's going to be like the Cowboys game in the playoffs last year, but I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. However, I do take the Packers to cover the 2.5 or 3, whatever it is. I don't know what it is exactly right now, but I like the Packers as the underdog in this game, and I'm going to call you out on this because you talked very highly of the Packers, and we got to back it up if we talk about how highly about them like that. So I'm going to take the Packers in this game to cover the 2.5.
I know, and it's tough. We just filmed our NFC North show, and we talked so highly. Actually, one of my bold predictions was the Packers wins that division.
You said 12 games? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 11 or 12 games. It's just tough. I know. But the Eagles are one of like 3 teams that I think are just inherently better than the Packers from a roster perspective and an X's and O's perspective. I already talked about Kellen Moore, but they also brought in Vic Fangio. So the numbers, statistically speaking, the defense did not do well last year. Not at all. In fact, they were really a bottom teams in terms of EPA per play allowed and a couple other advanced metrics that really showed their poor performance. But again, I think this team was just all out of whack. Huge locker room problems. It seems like more of a culture issue than anything. But let's not forget the guys that they do have on the defense. They have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, and then Byron Young now on the other side of the ball. They still have Josh Sweat on the defensive line. They brought in Devin White. They have Nakobe Dean. They have Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell, and now Kaylee Ringo at corner.
Kobe DeJean.
Yeah, and then, of course,
Cooper,
they have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, and Avonte Maddox at the safeties.
The defense is sick.
The defense is phenomenal.
And the offense
and statistically, even though they did poor last year, they brought in Vic Fangio. And remember what Vic Fangio did to the Dolphins defense just a few short years ago. It was insane. So I think that they did what they needed to do from a coaching perspective. They brought in the guys. They already have the roster and the talent. I mean, this team is phenomenal. And look at their pass catchers alone. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson now, Dallas Goedert now. So this team, and then of course we already talked about Saquon Barkley, the model has this game as really a pick even, like 21-21. This game, I think the Eagles are going to come out and make a statement win, and it's going to jar the Packers up a little bit. They had some hype. I think they're going to come in maybe chest all big. I think the Eagles are going to win, and I think they're going to win by a touchdown. I really do think that.
I think this needs to be the first beer bet of the year.
Beer bet, Eagles. Let's do it on the board. Put it on the board. Gosh, not even 2 games in, and we already have a beer bet.
I was just looking at them all, and it has to be that one. There won't be a better one.
I mean, I already said a lot of great things about the Packers. I think they're young talent at wide receiver and at tight end. And then especially they brought in Josh Jacobs. He's going to be an absolute bell cow for this team. Their team is going to be great. But I think so highly of the Eagles this year that I have to take the Eagles, and I have to take them at 2.5 where I can get them. So I'm going to read off some numbers really quick and then rebuke me if you have any more rebuttals. 74% of the tickets are on the Packers, but only 39% of the money is on the Packers. So there's kind of a heavy bag towards the Eagles. It looks like 61% of the total money has been on the Eagles. So again, we talk about the beginning of the season. There's really no rhyme or reason to the beginning of the season. There's no data. There's no feel for, we haven't seen any of these teams play
no momentum,
yet. So it's like
nothing.
We go off our intuition and based off of kind of what we saw last year. So that's it. Yeah. So fun stuff. Any rebukes before we go to the next game?
No, I just, no one can tell me that I'm wrong until I am. So because there's, so keep the comments down, okay? Please.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Jets go to San Francisco and play the 49ers. 49ers are 3.5-point favorites in this game. The total's at 43.5. We finally see Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully it's more than just one drive in this game opener. Man, the 49ers are one of those teams too that I think like they're going to be just really the same team that they were last year. Also want to put a side note out there, lifting up, saying some prayers for Ricky Pearsall. He was shot today, so we want to make sure that he's all right. It looks like he is. I think he made it back home. All is well, but San Francisco is a shithole. So I feel bad for him and glad that he's doing well. So, okay, back to the game. They just signed Brandon Ayuk, so they will have him ready to go. I think they're going to try and ramp him up a little bit in practice to get him game ready. Debo's healthy. Christian McCaffrey's healthy. George Kittle's healthy. Brock Purdy is still leading the pack. I think one of the underrated quarterbacks in the league, by the way. I'll start that debate with somebody else if they want to. But you flip it. Jets, obviously one of the best defenses in the league. They were third overall in defensive EPA margin. However, if you look at their offense from last year, they were dead last in the league in total EPA margin on the offensive side of the ball. But speaking towards that, Aaron Rodgers is back. Garrett Wilson has a QB1. Malachi Corley is there to kind of help out the receiving core.
Big Mike.
This offense could be dangerous. My concern is that I feel like this team is built like the 49ers, but the 49ers are built better. And so looking at this game and the composition of this game and how it's going to play out, I think it's going to be a slow-paced slog, in my opinion. When you're looking at the total, it's already 43.5. It's a bit lower comparatively speaking to the rest of the games. I think there's a chance that the 49ers could kind of make a statement, especially at home to open up the season. They're so strong on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, especially in the trenches. But Jets defense, man, they're legit. One of the best in the league. So when you look at this game, what you think, man? Gut feeling, do you think the Jets keep it close? Do you think the 49ers are going to continue to roll and take that momentum from last year into this year?
Yeah, these defenses are both very strong. And I guess the only thing I'll say is I know Aaron Rodgers is back and they can practice all they want, but you got to get to the games to really like iron everything out. And this is in Santa Clara. I think it's going to be a race to 23 points. I know that's very specific, but I don't know. I'm sure it's the total is saying like 23-20, which would go in favor of the Jets because I have it at 3.5. Is it 3.5 still?
Yeah, it's 3.5.
Yeah. I mean, I would feel much more safer at 3, but I do think that the 49ers are going to be rolling easier at the beginning of the season than the Jets are, and I think the 49ers cover at home.
I do too. Now, there's some sharp money on the Jets. 65% of the tickets are on the Jets. 61% of the tickets are on the Jets. Nothing out of the norm, but did see a few sharp signals. Now, disclaimer, if you're looking at the model projections, especially on the bottom of the screen, you're seeing that this game is nearly a 6 or 7 point favorite for the 49ers based on the model, and it is. But this is taking off on the basis of data from last year, and the data for Aaron Rodgers last year, I could have reached into 2022, but I think that would be doing it a bit injustice and it would ruin the integrity of the model itself. So I just left it as is, but I wanted to mention that disclaimer that it's on the basis of like the 3 plays that Aaron Rodgers was in for the Jets. So take that with a grain of salt, just throwing that out there. I don't think it's indicative of what's actually going to happen. But man, this 49ers team, I think, is just really, really solid. I mean, they're going to be one of the best in the NFC, if not the best in the NFC. I think it's just kind of a continuation like clockwork. They have one of the best player callers in Kyle Shanahan. They got a phenomenal skill set on the offensive side of the ball. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to get in his bag. It's going to be tough sledding at first against this defense, but at home nonetheless. When you have a guy like Brock Purdy who averages 8.1 yards per attempt and is a top 5 quarterback in EPA generated for his team, you can't beat that. The 49ers are first overall in EPA margin on the offensive side of the ball, first overall in passing success rate, and second overall in rushing success rate on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to eat, I think. Now, this game, I won't talk about the total, but I think the pace of this is going to be slow. I think the way that Jets defense plays and Aaron Rodgers plays, slow, inherently slow. And so I think the 49ers are going to buy into that, and they're going to like play the Jets game better than the Jets do it. And I think they're just going to grind them down 6 minutes at a time, 8 minutes at a time. So I'm on the 49ers to take this game at home. I'm going to lean into it. I'm not going to overthink it.
It's good.
Famous words by BJ. So
yeah, I'm going to throw in a bonus bet, and I'm going to try to do this on maybe like half the games. Not use it too much. George Kittle scores.
Okay.
Throw a bonus bet in. George Kittle
Yeah,
scores.
I like it. I like it. Got to exploit the matchups where
That's
you
right.
can. Rams go to Detroit and play our Lions.
Yeah.
Lions are 3.5-point favorites. The total is one of the highest on the slates, if not the highest, if I remember correctly. It's 50.5. So there will be points that are scored
Should be.
in this game nonetheless. Two well-oiled machines on the offensive side of the ball. The Detroit Lions have an absolute freaking unit on the defensive side of the ball. I can't really say the same for the Rams. Just they lost like one of the best defensive players in the history of the game after Aaron Donald retired. But I still think they'll trot out a fine unit. It's not going to be sexy, but it'll be fine. Last year on the defensive side of the ball, they were 21st overall in EPA margin allowed. They were 14th overall in defensive success rate and 11th overall in defensive success rate. So, talking to this game, Matt Stafford actually is a little banged up coming out of the offseason practices. I expect him to be fine. Same with Puka. He had that knee issue a little bit, but he looks like ready to go. Cooper Kupp is ready to go. Kyron Williams is ready to go. So I don't think we'll be missing anybody for this game on the Rams side of the ball. We especially won't be missing anybody on the Lions side of the ball. They're going to be healthy and ready to go. Before I get into it with any of my stuff and start rambling on, Beach, your Lions take on the Rams at home. Do you think this line felt kind of short at first? After I did some digging, I could justify it. But for those who may be a bit more casual, this line, did it surprise you at all? Do you think it's fair, or do you think it's injustice to the Lions at home in a dome?
No, I mean, I think it's fair. I still think the Lions are going to cover this, but they played in the playoffs last year. People can think it's revenge again, just like the Ravens Chiefs. So, it's hard to bet against Sean McVay. But I just want to point out, I'm only like half a Fairweather fan. My cousins, family, all big Lions fans from Detroit. Just want to put that out there. Anyway, I think the most important thing you said is the Lions' improved defense, especially because the Rams have a worse defense than they did last year. And I think that the Lions are going to be able to really create some plays and make some stops all year on the defensive side. And we know their offense, led by Ben Johnson's, their OC is going to be firing on all cylinders. So I'm looking at kind of like I think there will be points. I'm looking at like a 31-20 type deal for the Lions. I think they handle it just fine at home and start the season out with a win.
I like to hear that. Now, the model projection actually has the Lions by like 2.5. Just looking at the strict score prediction, but they have about a 55% chance to win, which is marginally better than a coin toss, which I was kind of surprised by. But this feels like a game like. It just always brings me back to respecting Sean McVay in what he is and the mind that he is in this game and how he's kind of revolutionized more so the offensive side of the ball. And as much as I love the Lions, I think they're going to be a strong team, and I think that do win this game. I got to give respect where respect is due with the Rams. They're always going to be a contender, and especially like we always talk about Jared Goff in the dome games, but talk about Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay in the dome games. I feel like it's always electric. Cooper Kupp was not too long ago a Triple Crown receiver.
Ridiculous.
Puka Nacua had 1,400 receiving yards as a rookie, and a 29% target share on a team that throws it more than half of the league. This offense is going to be good. I think people forget how good the Rams actually are. They just had some unfortunate losses and some unfortunate injury luck. So I want to respect this Rams team before I go off and fire off a bunch of bets for the Lions. But I think the Lions are going to win. Now, how comfortable I am with a 3.5 from a sports betting perspective. I'm not. I think the Lions win, but I'm not going to sit here and confidently say they covered the 3.5. I could easily see this being a field goal game. But I am taking the Lions. I think this Lions team at home is, phenomenal. Their trenches is really what's giving me the edge up here. I think their offensive and defensive line is just mean. And I think they're going to kind of throw them around a little bit, especially a defense that is missing Aaron Donald. This defense is going to be good. The Rams defense. Now, I don't want people to get mistaken and think that just because Aaron Donald left, that this defense and defensive line is going to be bad. If you look at some of the guys that they have, Byron Young, Nick Hampton, Brennan Jackson, Kobe Turner, a bunch of young guys that I think is going to be pretty solid. But Lions prevail at home. Another one of those, can't overthink it, right?
Don't you dare.
Cowboys go to Cleveland, play the Browns. Cowboys had a rough end to last year. Getting absolutely beat by the Packers at home. Just embarrassing all the way around. And it's funny, every time we talk about the Cowboys this offseason, this is the first thing we bring up naturally, because, I haven't seen an NFL team get embarrassed like that in quite some time, other than my Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Browns 2.5 at home. Deshaun Watson is returning. It's kind of a mystery, with his weird lingering shoulder injury, what to expect from him. Now, this team in general, bringing in Ken Dorsey as an offensive coordinator, he's going to install the spread offense rather than the Kevin Stefanski pro style offense. We'll see if that helps. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt Deshaun in this particular instance. Maybe it helps him. He's more comfortable in it. That's what he ran in college, and that's what he ran over at Houston with the Texans. But their defense, obviously, top 3 unit in the league. Golly, they were a bunch of meatheads on that team, led by Myles Garrett. Just some dogs. So I expect this defense to be solid nonetheless. Cleveland's actually a hard place to play now. We got to respect that. Brought in Jerry Jeudy. He's going to be wide receiver 2, across of Amari Cooper, and David Njoku is a dog as well. Still missing Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford's going to lead the backfield, but I expect this offense to be ready to go nonetheless. Beach, looking over at the Cowboys, similar team to what they had last year. They just signed CeeDee Lamb, so he'll be ready to go. Solid defense. Do you think that the Cowboys can come in here, grab a win, and leave? Or do you think the Browns are going to prevail at home in the dog pound? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the Cowboys are going to win this game. This doesn't mean anything unless it would happen, but they're a CeeDee Lamb injury away from not winning any games all year. The roster on the offensive side is just not going to take your breath away without CeeDee. So, did you see they just signed Dalvin Cook? That's ridiculous, man. Dalvin Cook, Zeke, and Rico Dowdle. No, I think it's really not what I think about the Cowboys, what I think about the Browns. I think Ken Dorsey installing that spread offense is going to be really good, especially before Nick Chubb comes back, because Jerome Ford is more of that quicker guy in the pass game and everything like that. And I think that it's going to be really good for them and Deshaun, because he ran it in college. And I don't know what to expect out of Deshaun, but their line is still good. Their defense is a dog. They're in the dog pound. A bunch of dogs there. And I think they cover the 2.5. Pretty easy.
I'm with you. I wish we disagreed on this one, but I'm with you, man. I think that the Browns win here too. It's actually going to be closer than expected. The Browns have about a 53% chance to win here. The model has them around a 2-point favorite. But again, at the dog pound, I think they come out ready to go. More so the defense than the offense. I'm still skeptical about the offense. It's more of a something like I'll believe it when I see it type of thing with Deshaun Watson in this offense. But their defense was phenomenal. First overall in defensive VPA margin, first overall in defensive success rate overall. It's very, very strong. And if you look at the Cowboys, man, one thing that you could do against this team is you could run the ball. And I could easily see this being a game where Jerome Ford drops 150 to start the season off. So
I would love it.
I am a believer in this Browns offense, albeit like in spite of Deshaun Watson. I still think they could actually be successful with poor performance from Deshaun. Just because I think that Stefanski and Ken Dorsey are that good in terms of X's and O's. Now, my argument for the Cowboys winning this game would be something along the lines of I think the Cowboys are just naturally like preparing themselves to throw the ball at a higher rate than anybody has probably seen in the league in a long time. They had no run game. If you think about it, they brought in Dusty Zeke. They have Rico Dowdle, but I mean, and then Deuce Vaughn, of course, but they're not gearing up to run the football. They're going to throw the football. They're going to sling the tater so much. So I think what we see is a lot from Dak Prescott, and I actually do believe Dak Prescott can be good enough to carry a team to victory, even against a tough defense like this. That is my bull case for this Cowboys team coming into the dog pound. It's going to be tough, but I think Dak Prescott, when healthy, he's a great quarterback, and if they are going to lean heavily into the pass game, this is kind of a good quarterback wide receiver tandem to do so with. Dak Prescott averages 6.3 yards per attempt, top 10 quarterback in EPA margin. Just, I'm a believer. But again, it's tough for me to get on the side with going into the dog pound and beating up on a defense like the Browns. 63% of the tickets are on the Browns. 54% of the money is on the Browns. So public actually gives the lean towards the Browns as well. But again, I'm never scared about what I see in week one with this type of stuff, just because nobody actually knows. And if they tell you they do, they lying. So
I know. We're going to sweep this week, all of them.
Yeah. Brendan's not wrong until he's wrong.
That's correct.
Okay. Hey, let's get into a quick segment. Let's put some teams on upset alert. We don't have enough time to talk about all of the games, but what we do have time to do is talk about teams who are on upset alert, and then we're going to get into some rapid fire picks later. But teams we're putting on upset alert. I am putting the Bucs on upset alert this week against the Commanders because I think the Commanders, even though I think Cliff Kingsbury is a fake sharp, I think the Bucs there's gonna be some regression for Baker Mayfield. He was very, very efficient, almost too efficient as a passer last year. They lost Dave Canales, so I think that there's gonna be some regression for Baker Mayfield to a statistical mean of what we would expect. They also lost some key pieces on the defensive side of the ball. And then, of course, the Commanders, they only got better in their offseason acquisitions. And I really do think they have a strong defense. And pairing that strong defensive roster with a defensive mind like Dan Quinn, and then, of course, a former Heisman winner, a quarterback now. Give me the Washington Commanders to upset the Bucs this week. That's who I have on upset alert. Bucs. Beach, anybody you have on upset alert?
So, from what you just talked about, I just want to touch on that. I will not believe in the Bucs until I see it this year because they lost Dave Canales. That's just my full take on that. And I agree with you on the upset alert. But my upset alert is on the other side of Dave Canales. The Panthers going into New Orleans to play the Saints. And I do think that the Saints will improve throughout the season, but the offense comes out stale, and Canales and Bryce Young steal one in the Superdome.
I love it. I would have picked that if the game was in Carolina. I actually thought about that. I would have picked that if the game was in Carolina. But
hey, it's a dome game. It's fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. This is where we find out what's real and what's not. And
that's right.
I am so excited. The market is actually really low on the Panthers. So if you want to find some value, attack the Panthers because the market does not think highly of them. And if you do think that Dave Canales is a sharp and you think Bryce Young is capable of progressing upwards, which, I mean, the only place he can go is up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You can find some good bets, season-long futures for the Panthers. Make sure to check that out if you're interested in it. Yeah, that was really my big one who I had on upset alert. It's not really like a big upset. The only one I do want to flag, and I still think the favorite team will win. But the Bills versus the Cardinals. It's at the Bills. It's at Buffalo. But I think the Cardinals are going to come out hot. And I think this team is going to surprise a lot of people in the way that they play the game. I think we're going to see a bit different offense. Now the Cliff Kingsbury system is totally removed from this offense. This team, man, this offense especially is going to be good. So they could be flirting with the Bills closer than, the public perception one a casual may think. Just floating that out there.
I like that take, but I don't think that the Cardinals defense, I know it's like a shootout team and all that stuff, but
right.
I think that Josh Allen is going to be able to. I've got the Bills in this game, so I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, but I'm just saying it's it could potentially be closer than what the, general perception of what you would think about a Bills Cardinals game.
Yeah.
Especially in recent memory. So
for sure.
Let's get into it. Rapid Fire Beach, one of my favorite segments as well. We'll go through each team. We have 60 seconds to give who we like and why. Okay? You ready?
I don't need 60 seconds, but yeah.
We both have 60 seconds to duke it out.
Oh, great.
Okay. Steelers go to the Falcons. Steelers are 3.5-point dogs in the Superdome or in Atlanta. Who you got?
I think the Falcons cover. I like.
Yes, sir.
I like the Falcons. This Steelers Falcons, me versus you, and I like the Falcons' new offensive scheme with the veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins and amazing weapons on the outside. I don't think the Steelers are going to have it together on the offensive side. Falcons.
Same. Falcons. They're going to be motivated against their old coach. The defense will be tough to face in the Steelers defense. It's going to be an underrated unit, even though Steelers defense, how can they be underrated? But it's a great unit, top 8 unit in the league nonetheless. Falcons, give me the Falcons -3 where I can find them. Vikings go to New York, play the Giants. Can Sam Darnold do it? They're -1 favorites on some books, +1 on some other books. This is one of the more volatile lines. Who you like in this game?
I have absolutely zero explanation for this, except for that the Giants win at home and they beat the Vikings and they covered the +1. I have nothing. That was what I was talking about earlier. That's the one. This is the game. My shot in the dark game. But the Giants somehow are going to win this football game at home.
Dude, I want to take the Vikings here. I want to take them so bad, and I'm gonna give me the Vikings.
Do it.
I'll take them. I'll take them pick even because books are volatile. So we'll take some slack there. So Vikings, I like them where I can get them. It's gonna be an ugly game. Texans go to Indianapolis and play the Colts. We get C.J. Stroud versus Anthony Richardson. I really thought about doing a big game breakdown, but we didn't have enough time for this. Do you think the Texans ride high here? Do you think Anthony Richardson pulls it off? Texans come in as a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Let me know.
Yeah, I think it's going to take AR a few games. I do think he's going to be good this year. I think it takes him a few games. I think CJ Stroud is ready to roll with all of his new weapons. The whole same team as last year, but better with better players that got added. So I think this was difficult for me at first. I watched AR in the preseason a little bit. He was still a little off. So yeah. I think the Texans cover the 2.5 away.
I think it's going to be a dynamic game. I think the defense for the Colts is going to be a bit of a weak spot. And in hosting a Texans team who I think is going to throw the ball more than they did last year, which is a scary thought. So give me the Texans. Model likes the Texans as well. 2.5 points. Okay. Broncos, Bo Nix travels to Seattle, plays the Seahawks. Seahawks 5.5-point favorites in the 12th man. Do they do it?
Seattle wins by 24 points. Seattle absolutely destroys this team.
Okay.
Week 1 in the new, I can't think, his name's escaping me. Guy from Washington. Offensive coordinator. Name's escaping me.
Give me 1 sec.
This is tough. But yeah, they absolutely demolish the Broncos here.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks. Ryan Grubb, yes.
Ryan Grubb comes out and Geno Smith has 3 or 4 touchdowns and JSN has 2 touchdowns. It's my bonus bet.
Yeah. And then contrary to my kind of my general thought process, really that has no merit. It's just something that I like to think I observe. But contrary to college, where you typically where offensive-minded coaches find more success, I think defensive-minded coach actually and thrive in the NFL. So I think that Mike Macdonald's going to turn this defense around. They're actually going to be a respectable unit, especially at home. They're going to kind of get to the rookie quarterback a little bit in his first regular season game. And I think we see Geno Smith return to form. People forget he was a top 12 quarterback in total EPA generated just a short 2 years ago before he got hurt. Give me the Seahawks. Model also likes the Seahawks to win and cover outright. So, okay, moving on. Another game that I wanted to put in the big game breakdown, but I couldn't find time for. Jags play. They go to Miami and play the Dolphins. 3.5 points favorite for the Dolphins, depending on which book you look at. Let's assume 3, just in case, for the sake of parity here for the Jags. Jaguars 3-point dogs heading into Miami. Do we think that this Jaguars offense can turn it around and keep up with this Dolphins team? Or do you think the Dolphins are going to be too good?
I think the Jaguars offense and Brian Thomas especially are going to be really good. But the Dolphins win by 40 or something like that. I mean, they did it they did 3 or 4 times last year, and they're going to start hot like they did last year, this year, and then they'll get hurt and tail off. But this Dolphins cover here.
All right. I like it. I'll take the Jags here, brother.
Oh.
I think the Jags go in here and we see a better version of this offense than we saw last year. Doug Peterson is going to elicit just a lot of his knowledge into Trevor Lawrence. One of my favorite stories. It's such a weird thing to hone in on, but there's a floating clip that's 5 minutes long of all of these missed passes that Trevor Lawrence hit, but Calvin Ridley just didn't catch.
Yeah.
So I think that Brian Thomas, if he can catch, we see a bit different offense here. I think Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are going to continue to shred. Brian Thomas is going to be a key piece. Travis Etienne is going to be a dog as well.
I want to say one thing about Brian Thomas. This is so hot of a take, but I think everybody remembers Jamar Chase his rookie year. Well, you're about to look in the mirror with this year with Brian Thomas.
LSU guy. They breed him different there, right?
They breed him different, man. And Brian Thomas has an amazing year.
Okay, I love it. Jags, I'll take it. Cardinals go to Buffalo, play the Bills. They're a 5.5 point, 6-point dog, depending on where you look at. Do you think the Cardinals can cover that 6 points, or do you think Buffalo is going to prevail at home in the home opener?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, what you had earlier. And I mean, I don't say I disagree with it, but from what we talked about, I think the Bills still cover here at home in the home opener because of the lacking Arizona defense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be tough to recuperate from being second to last in EPA margin on the defensive side of the ball. So that's where I agree. But to make a case for the Cardinals covering, I think that there could be some growing pains on the Bills side of the offense.
Could be.
With new receivers and younger guys kind of littered across the board there. But I don't know. I'll take it. I'll take it. Cardinals plus 6. I got to ride with my take. I'll ride with it. Patriots plus 8.5 going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. I'll tell you right now, as much as I think the Bengals are going to shred this Patriots team, I think the Patriots keep it within 8.5. My model is so whacked up here with this Patriots team. I think I have it nailed down to why it is. Mainly because, just for instance, it takes whoever the starting quarterback for that team, it takes his historical metrics and plugs it into the model for that particular team. And Jacoby Brissett is actually a relatively efficient quarterback, all things considered. So that's why I think it's skewing this data and making it look like this game is going to be closer than it actually is. I still think the Patriots lose, but I could see it being somewhere in the realm of 3-7 rather than 8.5, especially for a home opener game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with a garbage time Jalen Polk touchdown to cover the 8.5 for the Patriots.
Okay, I like it.
We got to be really specific because if I'm right, then we'll clip it. That's it.
Okay, that's fine. I'll try to remember that. Okay, Raiders go to LA and face the Chargers. We see Harbaugh era here in LA. Chargers are 3-point home favorites. Chargers -3 for me. I won't overthink it. This Raiders team is going to be kind of doo-doo.
Yeah. Chargers are less dysfunctional than the Raiders, so Chargers.
I think the Chargers are going to be kind of strong. I think it's going to be ugly. It's going to be a slow, one of the slowest paced games you've ever seen. Will be this game right here. So I would even kind of be inclined to take the under, even though it is a bit lower of a under. Chargers -3 here at home. I think their running game is it's not going to be the best, but in this game in particular, it's going to succeed. And Justin Herbert over Gardner Minshew, as much as I love Gardner Minshew, I'll take the better quarterback in this scenario. Titans go to the Bears. Bears are 4.5-point favorites. The hype seems to have made it to Vegas here because I would have expected this total to be around 3 points for the Bears. But Caleb Williams versus Will Levis. Do you think Caleb Williams slings the tater, leads them to a 5-point victory or more?
Yeah, I mean, if you just compare these teams, right? I think the Bears have a little bit better defense, and I know that Caleb Williams is better than Will Levis, and I see this pretty much as like a rookie matchup is what I kind of see it as. And the Bears have so much better weapons on the offensive side, and Caleb Williams has been very good in the preseason. It's really hard to turn a team around like the Titans like in a year, but it's a lot harder if your quarterback's Will Levis. So I like the Bears here.
I do too. I think the Bears have about a 68% chance to win here, according to the model as well. I do think the Titans and Will Levis are actually going to be a sneaky good team. Will Levis might actually surprise people with his performance, but the model likes the Bears 5.5, give or take, I think. So I'm taking the Bears. I'll ride with the Bears. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a great talent. I think not like outside of Caleb Williams, what the Bears did on the offensive side of the ball alone could warrant them much better success this year. Looking at the signing of starting with DeAndre Swift in the backfield, good running back there, Rome Odunze in the draft. They brought in Keenan Allen, who I don't even think is going to be that great from a physical talent, but bringing a guy like that in the locker room who those younger guys respect so much, and he's got a keen mind for the game, is going to be huge as well. And then of course DJ Moore, don't want to forget him, wide receiver 1 right there. So studs. Okay, we already talked about the Panthers and the Saints. You already gave your take there. Bold prediction: Panthers win outright in New Orleans.
That's right.
I'll take it, dude. I'll take it. I'll ride with you. Panthers 4.5. I like it as well. Model does not like it, just FYI, but it doesn't account for new minds like Dave Canales calling plays. Okay, Beach. That wraps it up for week 1. How does it feel?
It was pretty damn good, man. I don't have anything else to say except for come for the take, stay for the fun, because that's what we are.
That's right. That's right.
Let's
Guys,
play football.
We appreciate you joining us this week. Again, we're just here to have a good time. We love talking ball. So we appreciate you guys, and we are hoping to see you back here for week 2. Talk to you guys later.